Does anyone remember Meet the Robinsons? It came out in 2007 and it's made by Disney. I've watched it twice and enjoyed it, but that's the only thing I remember. Around that time, Disney was trying to pump as much as they can movie tie-ins. This game is developed by Avalanche Software, not to be mistaken with Avalanche Studio, the devs behind Just Cause series. Now, Avalanche Software have behind their back a lot of movie tie-in games, most of which I have no interest in covering, beside the two Chicken Little games. Most of their catalog don't even have a PC release. Now, for today's video I'm joined by Habex. After my review there will be another made by him. Also I did a video for his channel, be sure to check it out. All the links are in the description. Full disclosure, I didn't finish the game for reasons you'll hear in a minute, but mainly because the game is a giant disappointment. The game follows loosely the plot of the movie. You don't need to watch it to understand what's going on. You take control of Wilbur Robinson, a boy from a family of smart and eccentric people from the future. He's doing some time traveling with his father's time machine, which he is specifically forbidden to use, to ancient Egypt to take a selfie with a mummy. However, he steps on a trap and the pyramid starts crumbling. Now he has to escape. This is the tutorial level. With few exceptions, what you see here is the whole game. It's not good. It appears at first glance to be a 3D platformer, but it's not exactly. The jumping is automatically done as long as the place where you want to go is at the same level as the character. I'm aware I set myself for disappointment, expecting something that the game is not, but even if this wasn't the case, I still don't like quote-unquote the jumping. Let's move on. After the tense escape sequence, Wilbur returned to his home in the future. He lives in an enormous mansion with all of his wacky relatives. Suddenly, Wilbur has the bright idea to visit Abraham Lincoln. However, the garage where is the time machine is locked. Someone from the family changed the code for the door, and for the next 40ish minutes the tutorial continues. You'll get your two most used gadgets and play some minigames. This almost an hour is what you will play over and over again. I'll talk about it more in the gameplay section. When he finally is about to use the time machine, his mom stops him because he has to take out the trash. However, he forgets to close the door, then a guy with a bowler hat steals the time machine. Now Wilbur has to go to get the prototype time machine his father is storing and follow the bowler hat guy. As expected, messing with the past changes the future. I didn't reach too far into the game. To be honest, I'm not the target audience. This is a kid's game, but one word can define it. Boring. The gameplay is quite simple. Too simple. You get very quickly two gadgets. The first is disassembler. It's mostly used for making an object around the world, well, disassemble to their basic components. It's your currency. With it, you can buy cheats, more health, some new gadgets, etc. You go around and just blast everything. Nothing is safe from you, mostly the furniture. The second is charge bow, a glove that shoots charge shots and your primary attack. This is the extended I've reached. I know there are more, but I just couldn't force myself to see them. I played only for 3 hours before I quit. Both gadgets have some secondary uses. With the disassembler you can stun enemies and shock the armor out of some of the big ones because they are invincible with it. Charge bow is used in one of the minigames, also charge up stuff in the environment and you can hit buttons from far away. This just describes all the puzzles in the game. They are basic, easy and boring. Charge the thing to be able to walk on a bridge, shoot a button, push something to jump on a platform. There isn't much to say about the puzzles, but I will give you an example of how complex they get. This room has lasers going in 4 directions. Touching one sends you back in the beginning of the room. It took me a while to figure out the solution, but not because it's difficult. You need to press the lock on button so you can dodge roll under the lasers. In my defense, I'll say I never used it because the projectiles are too slow and you can run past them. Then I figure out I don't even have to time my dodges. Just spam it and Wilbur will roll constantly. The shooting can't get more basic than this. You face mostly robots. For the 3 hours there were only 5 types. The first 2 are almost identical. There are bug robots, one with big clamps and one flying. The most interesting the combat gets is when there is a flying alarm. You have to take it out first because it's spawning more and more enemies, mostly the big robots with armor, but they are easy to defeat. Use the disassembler and just spam attack after that. You can lock on to a target and it's the only way you can make dodge roll, but you don't need it. If you don't stop moving, you'll never get hit. Almost. The only time the lock on is useful is for the flying enemies. There is nothing more to the shooting. It's not challenging at all and very simple. I made the mistake of playing with mouse and keyboard. The controls are not bad, but when it comes to lock on to targets, the slightest movement of the mouse makes it jump to different targets even somewhere behind your back. I only used it for the flying enemies. For the others I just push forward and spam the attack button. To add some variety, the dev implemented a couple of minigames. Wilbur in a rolling bow, Charge Bow which looks like a breakout clone at first but you play against an AI opponent, and reaching a button while avoiding cannonballs. They are very simple like everything else in the game. There is a point we are forced to play 3 consecutive matches of Charge Ball to continue the story. This was annoying because I find the minigames not enjoyable. The gameplay is not very good, serviceable at best, but what I also don't like is the levels. Here is an example. At first glance, the Robinson's mansion is okay, but the reality is it's just a simple corridor with added some flavor. The other levels are even blander, huge dungeons with some enemies and a simple puzzle. I mentioned this is a kids game, but I won't be surprised if some of the younger audience gets confused. The basement of Wilbur's family house has an almost identical layout throughout the whole section. It's not only there, puzzles are reused, other levels have copy-pasted layout, and so on. What I downright hate is the music. Each area has its own theme, but it's just annoying 20 to 30 seconds loop. At one point I even removed my headphones, I just couldn't stand it. It's so rare for me hating music. There are some positives, albeit not many. The first is the character animation. I really like Wilbur's movement, exaggerated and cartoony. I love it. The other thing is the voice acting. It's superb, but that's not a big surprise. A lot of the actors from the movie lend their voices for the game. That's the whole extent of the things I liked. This is not an awful game. It's just super boring, and as I said, I'm not the target demographic. To be honest, I would give this game to my 12-year-old niece. I think this could be a good introduction to 3D platformers. But other than kids and nostalgia, I can't see many people enjoying the game. I can't fault the dev. By looking at their releases, they put way too much in a short time. I doubt Disney gave them much money and time to create something good. What I would suggest is watching the movie instead of playing the game. I'm betting you'll enjoy it much more. Now I'm gonna leave you with Habex and his review. Don't forget to subscribe to him.
The Incredibles, a multi-million-dollar movie series with a sequel that made over $1 billion. But what are the games like? Well, there's actually a large variety, ranging from the PS4 all the way back to the Game Boy Advanced. But today we're here to talk about the first one. Now this game originally launched on the Game Boy Advance, the Xbox Original, PS2 and the GameCube. The footage you will see will only be from the PS2 version, as that is the one I own. Now starting off, what I was really surprised to learn that this came out 1 month prior to the release of the film. This is because of technical issues that set the film back a full month, but instead of waiting that month, Pixar decided to post it anyway, which is really surprising because not only does the film give away the entire plot of The Incredibles, it also includes the cutscenes from the very movie. Despite all this, the game was actually very popular enough to have a sequel release just a little over a year later, and looking at reviews, it seems that most people who have played this game actually seem to like it. But with that being said, let's see what the game has to offer itself. Starting off, you are dropped right into the action on a mission to stop the evil Bon Voyage from robbing a bank. I actually think this is a very good intro mission, as it teaches you the very basics of combat, and it also introduces you to the most basic mechanics that are going to be used in the game. During this mission, you will be switching between 2 characters, Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, which is where you are introduced to your powers. Now, each character has 2 attacks, a super attack and a normal attack, with a normal attack being a kick or a punch, and a super attack just being that, but stronger. With that being said, you blast through the level until you eventually reach Bon Voyage, where you are shown the stunning 240p cutscene. After this, we are introduced to the main storyline of The Incredibles, which I'm not going into because it is just the storyline of the movie, with an exception being this mission where Dash chases the bus to school, and there's not really that much to talk about other than Dash chases the bus to school. On the more technical side of things, I actually really enjoyed the level design of this game. The level design was actually really fun and impressive. That even goes for the graphics and the overall look of the game. Even though the game is almost 20 years old, it actually looks really nice, which is quite surprising. The very basic nature of the graphics and level design has made sure it hasn't aged poorly. But with all that being said, this is basically where all of my praise ends for the game. And we get to my main problem. This game is really boring. This can be pinpointed to a number of reasons, but I feel like the main reason is due to the gameplay. The gameplay and combat in this game is very repetitive. Go to place, punch something. Go to another place, punch something. It never really felt like it was shaking things up. I would often feel like I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again. This would even leak into the boss fights. I would just be sitting there repetitively spamming one attack until the boss eventually died. This took away a huge chunk of enjoyment that I would have had playing the game. It also made the game feel extremely long, which is quite surprising because of all of my footage put together, the game only reached a total of around 3 hours, which is actually very small. But with all that being said, that is basically all I have to say about the game, because in truth there really isn't that much to talk about. If I were to continue, most of my points would be about the story of the film and not the actual game, so I feel like it's a waste of time. So then I shall now move on to my rating. I am going to rate this game a 5 out of 10. Would I recommend this game? Is it worth your purchase? Not really. The only thing I would recommend to you is watching the movie. This game is not worth your time or money. But anyway, I am out. Back to you, B.
Hey Habex, it was nice working with you. Don't forget to check the video I made for his channel and click that subscribe button.